Hello, sexy souls. How are you all doing? I am going to start in on a reading today. Tried to do this yesterday and had technical difficulties, but also just a lot of other interfering energies in trying to get the message out. And so I opted to wait until today to make sure that I got an accurate message and the energies were good. And so this is actually a message from your shadow aspect. I want everybody to remember that the shadow is something that should be integrated. Should be something that is valued. It is a very useful tool on our path. Allows us to understand where the human aspect of our whole is coming from, where we might still have some healing, but also it is a crucial piece to our intuition as well. And so oftentimes we, like people talk about feeling it to heal it. We get to a place where we go, no, I did my shadow work by purging, and then there was nothing left. Your shadow had something to say, okay? And if you aren't sitting down with yourself and trying to figure out what it is that it is trying to tell you, then you are not really integrating everything the way that you should be, and you're going to be repeating some patterns. So a lot of times our shadow, even at a higher frequency, when we operate from a higher frequency, our shadow will chime in to be able to inform us, and at times can be the thing that protects us, or also will bring attention to something you may have ignored within your intuition. And so they can work in tandem. So just remember that listening to your shadow is just as important. So I felt like we should be giving a platform to our shadow aspect to bring messages. And so that's what this reading is for. All right, let's get started. Okay, I'm going to start off with the Oracle of Emanation. Oh, for love of... Oh my God. Okay. All right. Sorry. Should have had that ready. Okay. So, Angelorium Oracle of Emanations. I'm going to pull however many Oracle cards we need from this. I usually read from the book because I definitely believe that, especially certain Oracle decks, but Oracle decks in general are usually infused with the energy of the creator. With a very specific intention. So those intentions really hold heavy during the reading. Doesn't mean that I don't get something intuitive or downloads in addition to, but a lot of times I like to read it from the book so that you get a good understanding from what the intention infused into the card is. Let's just say so. All right. Shuffle this up a little bit. Hope everybody is doing well. I am filming this during a Mercury retrograde, and given that I have 5 Mercury placements, okay, let me rephrase that. I have 2 Gemini. One of them, Mercury is in Gemini in my chart, and then of course I have 3 Virgo placements. Let's see, Jupiter, Neptune. I am heavy with that, and so and my rising is a Gemini. So therefore unto there's times where nothing. It doesn't seem to do anything, and I'm like, oh, these, But some in retrogrades can also, or Mercury retrogrades specifically, can actually be a time when I thrive, weirdly enough, but other times it just screws with me. So if I stumble over words, then that would be why, but also hence the freaking technical difficulties I had last night on top of the thunderstorm we had. So there you go. All right. Okay, they want me to, I do this different every single time. I do it how I feel I'm meant to. So we're going to be pulling cards like this. We're just going to spread this bad boy out. Okay. Okay. Going on. All right, here we are. I'm loving this already. All right, first one we've got, and I butchered the shit out of this stuff, so y'all just have to deal. Gavura, left hand judgment. Look at that shit. I bet y'all think these angels are just all beautiful feathers. No, angels can appear to look like demons a lot. If they can slay a demon, let me just fucking tell you, these are some badass bitches right here. All right. I'm going to show you each one of the cards first. Semicule, Angel of Vengeance. Okay. And then Israfel, Angel of Song. Oh my God, is she not gorgeous? Looks like reminds me of an African queen I've seen paintings of before. Gorgeous. Oh. I just take another look at this Angel of Vengeance. Holy shit. Okay. I love the imagery that's on these cards. Oh my God. Okay, so let's get into this bad boy. All right, and these are not in alphabetical order. So you'd think I'd have this book memorized at this point. I hate when I look down because you can see my turkey gobbler. It has nothing to do with anything. Sorry. All right. Let me, so you can see the name. All right, Gavura. Left hand judgment, the fifth emanation. The hand that separates, the rule of law that brings order to the world. Gavura assesses what is just, helping us overcome our adversaries, both without and within. Hers is the power to cleave apart a unified whole and leave its component pieces. It is a trait that commands as much fear as respect, because with it comes an inherent violence. She does this without enmity. Blah, blah, blah. It is an act that must be committed to create balance. Okay, so it's coming through, and I said this in a previous reading, and I just kind of want to remind everybody. When we use labels like the masculine or the feminine, when we're talking about aspects of ourselves, the shadow, the light, we do this because, one, we have a human aspect to ourselves that in order to ascend, in order to evolve, we must have that as a part of the process. And one of the best ways to have self-reflection is to take the whole. And I know that there's a lot of talk about unity consciousness and everything else like that. But, when you look at the whole, and they do this also in social work, it's called systems perspective, where you look at all of the pieces, because there's not. Let me say it like this: in order to understand when doing self-reflection where something originates, it's not enough to put a Band-Aid on a heart attack, okay? You have to do more than just that. And so you kind of have to pull the whole apart so you can see all of its components, just like if you're fixing a clock. The clock, all the little pieces work together as a whole entire system. But if something's going wrong, you literally have to pull it apart to take a look. So it's okay to use labels even though we don't necessarily like them. It helps your human buy into the process of what's going on. I can't tell you how many times where my soul is leading the way and I get something, but I keep getting hung up on something over here. It's because my human aspect, the human portion of me is grappling with something. Sometimes it's as simple as the story I put behind the definition of a word, or there's a piece of me and I can't figure out where it's at, and I have to pull myself apart and look at it. I have to kind of so I feel like this is really talking about that. Don't ever feel like you're not in some people get very have an aversion to talking and using terminology that pulls the whole apart and looks at its different aspects, because it makes them feel as if they're not a part of unity consciousness. And once you become in unity with when your whole system is working together, at no point do we stop ascending, evolving, expanding. And so if labels allow us to really help us pull it apart to see what's going on, because at any given point in your process, something can come up. There's so many fucking layers. There's so many, and I don't care if you work through all of the trauma, past life traumas, you cleared all the cords, you cleared all the seals, you cleared all, you are still having a human experience. And so ancestral trauma is taken care of, and all these, I've done all this stuff, let's say you got through it all, you're still having a human experience. That's the point of this. And if you don't continue to pull things apart and really do that self-reflection and look at the different pieces to find out where something is being hung up, or where you might be making a new story for yourself, or harboring a new trauma, because this is important for future generations as well. Okay, you're somebody's ancestor. And so you have to pull the whole apart. You have to take a look at everything. And if using labels to help you do that and understand the workings of each different aspect and things like that, if that's what you need to do, it doesn't mean that you've regressed on your path. It doesn't mean that you're not a part of Unity Consciousness. That's not what it means, okay? And so I just kind of want to clear that up, because I feel like there's a lot of individuals, even some readers, that just talk about they divide Unity Consciousness with something before, and it's like they're not necessarily separate. And when you make it like a distinction like that, one, it can give off this essence of hierarchy, but two, it can also give off this sense of, if at any point I am likened to anything from before, which you always keep who you were. That's how you got to the place you are. You heal those aspects, but you don't discard any piece of yourself, ever. Okay? So I kind of want to say, like, you're gonna, and maybe your terminology might change, but be careful of how you present something to yourself, that if I reach a certain point within this Unity Consciousness, or if I'm whole, then, I just know, like, there's no magic wand where you're just like, oh, this is this, and this is how I heal, blah, blah. It's still pertinent to understand that no piece of yourself operates in a vacuum. There's so many, it's systems theory. One aspect of yourself can filter into all the others. It's all those, you ever seen those circles where it's like, there's like, they overlap, and so there's a piece of it that looks like this, and so there's always a portion that's shared. And I'm going to post something like that on my channel so that y'all can see and understand what I'm talking about when I say the systems theory. But sometimes it can be difficult to locate, or, you ever done the work on something and then you're like, why is this still coming up as an issue? Why is it still a problem? Because you didn't get to the core of it, to the piece or the aspect where it's really harbored, that nugget. Because that nugget can infiltrate other aspects of yourself. So you're over here working, It's okay to pull things apart. There is some beauty in I want to use the word desecration, but it's not desecration, but it is, in taking the pieces and looking at them, just leaving them, and looking at them and really doing that self-reflection. I don't know why I went on that tangent. I'm sure it was useful for somebody. All right, let's see here. Let me finish this one. Okay. Gavuro's position at the center of its pillar defines that pillar's trait of severity. Her push against Chesed, but on the opposite side of the tree is met with equal and opposite resistance. Without both of them in equal measure, we have no means of maintaining healthy relationships. We must have judgment to discern what is healthy for us, so that we can bring it into our lives and embrace it. And I guarantee you some people went like that. And it's because of what we choose to define these terms. In that respect, I understand why people don't like labels. I don't like the way that we communicate on this frickin' planet either. I don't like words. I like energy. But I am having a human experience, and not everybody can communicate with me at this point in time telepathically or know how to interpret things, and so we have to use these words, all right? We must have judgment to discern. So let's just say we must have discernment on what is healthy for us so that we can bring it into our lives and embrace it. And that goes into also the pulling things apart and looking at them and examining the aspects, the pieces that make the whole. You're still whole. You're not unwhole. You're not a piece. You're not a half. You're not even when you come into Unity Consciousness, I know we use terms like I was broken, I was missing pieces of myself, call your power back, call your jewels back, like you handed things over, but you were always whole. You always had the power, yeah. Okay, I think we come into the realization as we awaken that we are whole. Feeling broken and as if pieces are missing is a part of the matrix where they want that illusion of separation. Okay. So it's an act that must be committed to create balance. So let's go back to this. It is, she assesses what is just, helping us overcome our adversities both without and within. And I think this is talking about your power. Knowing and understanding understanding and loving yourself and standing in your power, being authentic to who you are, so that you understand when something isn't for you. And if it's not for you, and if it's not healed within you, and if it's not loved within you, then you are going to end up projecting that outwardly. So those things, then, and we're seeing this in our society today, right now, very much so. She has the power to cleave apart a unified whole and leave its components, pieces. All right, let's keep going. I know that there's something in each one of these. Angel of Vengeance is going to be long. I'm finding it. Oh, come on. Seriously? Wow. All right. It's towards the end. There's different languages in it, too, so I have to kind of go through where you at. All right. Found it. Whew. For the love of telling you what. Ooh. I'm seeing the blood. Okay, and I don't know why they pointed this out to me, but there's blood coming from the fingertips, almost like the drops are taking off in air. You know how like water, like droplets of water can raise up. It's like defying the gravity. I don't know why they pointed that out. Okay. Semicule. Oh, I'm still in the wrong language. Y'all gotta love me. Gotta love me. Oh, baby. For love of... Okay, yes, this is the English version. I've got issues. When the time comes, we all call its name. It is ever the instinct in our throat when we seek retribution. We choke on it, even as we languish in every syllable. But those who call on Semicule without cause will have harm fall back upon them threefold. It is the way of Semicule's sword, cutting in both directions. While we will gird our fragile hearts against being hurt, they have gird, I don't know why. How about we will guard our fragile hearts against being hurt. Pain will make its attempts on us by any means necessary. It is in our soul to survive at all costs, even if it means violence. Try to resist the urges of your barbed heart. Simikial knows, not forgiveness. And this is talking about when your shadow aspect works in tandem to protect you. Like, it is absolutely essential. Protect your soul, protect your spirit. Your shadow aspect is, when it is integrated, works for you in a higher frequency versus when you project out. If we're not taking those pieces apart and examining all of those little pieces and really taking a look at what it's trying to tell us, and we will take those narratives, those stories, that feeling or distorted lens, potentially, because if we aren't operating out of authenticity, we were operating out of a lens that is not ours, a lens that is distorted. And by authenticity, I mean our truth, your individual truth, that resonates at a soul level, that allows you to live in a space of love, okay? And so a lot of times I think that and this is why it can be perceived, when we put our boundaries down and we exhibit self-love, others who are operating from a very hurt, distorted, painful place or view of their external and internal worlds, they will view you valuing yourself and putting up boundaries as being harmful, evil, wrong, shameful. They will judge you. Okay? And I think that you can use kind of what's going on, if you want to, in society, this sense of seeking vengeance for the oppression of various groups. And when that execution can be beneficial to society, and when and where the place in which it comes from, for because of love of self, and when that can be harmful to the whole, when it doesn't benefit you. Also internally, sometimes our ego wants to step in, and instead of operating out of a love for ourselves in it's when you, like, sometimes when you cut off an individual because that relationship pulls down your energy, your vibration, your frequency, and it limits you. You allow it to limit you, and you know that in order to operate from your authenticity, your sacred space, to take care of you and love you and nourish you, that kind of needs to be separated. When that occurs, sometimes ego may want to step in and be like, taking things to a level that's unnecessary through our actions. Like it's this. I'm going to reread this sentence really quick, and I hope that this lands. But those who call on Simikial vengeance without cause will have harm fall back upon them threefold. So vengeance is something that can be, and for vengeance, what I would use is, to me, vengeance is more your shadow really trying to be utilized in self-protection. But when you allow your shadow aspect and your ego, sometimes people see them as interchangeable, not always, but when your ego is there for self-protection and does its job, that's great. But when it then begins to impose harm negativity on others, when it's not out of self-protection, when you utilize that aspect of yourself not for the greater good of you, okay, which requires a whole lot of discernment. We'll use discernment, not just judgment, all right? Then you are creating that negativity around you. You are creating that whirlwind, that vortex of negative energy, and that will come back to you, will draw that back to you, okay? So when you work from when you work through things and you do shadow work, it's not about discarding or throwing away that aspect of yourself. It's about healing it and loving it and utilizing it in that higher frequency. Okay, and let me, while we guard our fragile hearts against being hurt, pain will make its attempts on us by any means necessary. It's almost like some individuals I've seen, I talk about when you have gifts, when you have spiritual gifts, knowing and understanding that not everybody is love and light, that having gifts doesn't mean that it's used for the betterment of self or others, for the collective, and that there are those out there who will use gifts to inflict harm. Okay, that's the most simplest, basic scenario or metaphor or whatever you want to call it that I can give you for an understanding of this. Okay, and so it is within your soul to survive at all cost, to do what is necessary to operate from a place of authenticity and truth, never handing your power over to somebody else or an institution or a group, but standing firmly within your power sometimes requires your shadow aspect. Okay? Israfel. Let's go ahead and get this one. This is like right next. God, she's beautiful. I like her. The herald, okay, angel of song. The herald that will call the coming of end times. Israfel is a presence, a beacon, a warning. Heated judgment is upon us. The horn that blows the final call rests against the flesh of Israfel's lips. If even it is flesh, Israfel is both melody and a cacophony of existence. Songs can be soft and warm, especially when they end. Under the serene score of creation, the danger of total destruction is hidden. Beyond that destruction may be a new beginning. You must consider the implications of your actions seriously. Choose your steps wisely as you dance upon the cinder soft earth. Fuck, this is like all going in place. It's the appropriate use and understanding of your shadow aspect, utilizing it. You can demolish people, or you can, or yourself. Let's put that. You could demolish yourself internally from a wounded place, or you can lift others up with your shadow aspect. Your shadow aspect is there to help you. Let me be perfectly clear. The reason you made it through the valley of the shadow of death, your dark night of the soul, your soul death, the reason why you came through all that evil onto the other side is because of your shadow aspect. It has informed you in so many ways and protected you in so many times. That's why you can look at evil now, or negativity, or lower frequencies, and exist in this fucking planet. This is why you can live now and feel joy despite what the fuck is going on around us. Okay? This is the reason why you are able to be a light for others, is because your shadow walked with you through the valley of demons. And I'm going to use demons, and I'll get into that on another, as to what a demon is. It's not Satan and things like that. Lucifer was an angel too. Okay? Look at these motherfucking angels. In fact, Lucifer, I would say, is the angel over the shadow aspect. That's going to piss some people off. I know some people just clicked off. there is evil that exists out there that wants to continue to have this separation, who wants to have such a large gap between the spectrums of feelings and emotions and energies, frequencies, whatever, however you want to term it. And they will do anything at all cost to try and have that. But what we deem, some of these things that we deem demons, are really just waiting to be loved and valued and seen. So when you walked through your bullshit and your dark night of the soul and everything else like that, you can do that now. You can have people come at you and try to break you down and survive because your shadow walks with you. You now can see the darkness coming. You can see where it's about to go. You can see how to dodge it. You know if it touches you, how to protect yourself. And you know to what extent to go. Have you ever wanted to just defend yourself and you took that shit too far? And instead of just defending yourself, you harmed another? You created a whole other cycle? And then that's a whole other level of trying to forgive yourself for that. Your shadow and the path that you have walked, this has brought you to this place. So you really need to learn how to pull things apart and understand so that you continuously keep your shadow in that higher frequency, knowing when is it self-protection, when are you using it in a higher frequency, and when you are not. Okay? Because your shadow can be a battle cry. It can be a song of creation. It can be that trumpeting bugle that alerts you to something. It can be the sound of a tornado ripping through a home and desecrating everything. You need to listen to your shadow and value it and love it. I feel like that's a whole fucking reading right there, guys. Yeah. I know some of y'all are going to want this. Angel Lorium, Oracle of Emanations. I'm actually going to leave it there because I feel like it's so broad enough that this is where some of us are at as a society and individually on our path of healing. This is what we need to hear and be reminded of, to go inward, but not to discard that piece, not to ignore it, not, it is a valuable piece of who you are, and this is how you've gotten to this space. Okay? It will take you far if it is valued, loved, and nurtured in the right way, if you understand how it is speaking to you. I will do another reading to see exactly what the shadow aspect wants to tell us, and I might just... Well, no, they said no. So I'm going to do another reading for that, but this alone is definitely a massive message for somebody, for a lot of people, not for somebody, for a lot of people. Share, subscribe, if you resonate with the things that come through me from Spirit. Also talk in the comments about, and here's the thing, if you get a little too... If people start attacking anybody within my comments, you'll get blocked, and I'll have to turn the comments off. I'm not going to do that shit. But a healthy discussion of what does it mean to work with your shadow, how to operate from a higher frequency, and how to really do that self-reflection, and what's worked best for you all when doing that. Labels can be very beneficial. Don't limit yourself on how you do your work, your inner work. in fear of meaning that you're backsliding. Sometimes we get fearful that that's what's happening, and it's not. Okay? Sometimes you have to go back to go forward. Okay? All right. Love you all. Have a blessed day. I'll talk to you soon.